Hey everybody, I'm Joe DeGanzik and this is Smarter Home Life. It is Apple Announcement Day. Actually, it's kind of an Apple Announcement Week. Apple tends to hold 2 to 3 major events per year. This is the second one of this year. The big WWDC, or Worldwide Developer Conference, taking place in San Jose. And it started today, goes through the entire week, but the keynote was this morning at 10 a.m. That's kind of where they have all the major announcements and the stuff that I'm going to get across to you in relation to the smart home and all that stuff around it and HomeKit. I'm not going to go over all the other details, but we'll kind of pull the little tidbits in because that's how Apple put it together. So I'm going to have some predictions and analysis and stuff after this, but let's just dive into the news, the little bits of information that you care about. The customer is still, of course, at the center of everything. Tim Cook spoke on this. Privacy and security, of course, Apple's big focus. And then we jump into iOS. I was hoping that they would name it something, but nope, we're going into the numbers. I don't understand it, but it's iOS 12. So betas for all the software will be out, I believe, today or within this week. Most likely they're actually available today. Don't run the betas on your production devices. Please do not. This is for the iOS and tvOS, and watchOS and macOS. Good news, iOS 12 is going to be compatible with the same amount of devices as iOS 11. So for those of you hanging on to old devices, it's good news. Siri Suggestions. You've noticed this happen more and more over the year, past about a year or two, as Siri has gotten smarter. Apple's trying to integrate suggestions as to what you would want when you would want it throughout iOS, through Spotlight, through notifications, many different things. So now we go from suggestions to shortcuts. This is Apple's answer to routines from Google and from Amazon. So now Siri Shortcuts is going to let you create your own quote-unquote shortcuts, or I'll just call them routines, Apple's kind of version of routines, multiple different things, including HomeKit actions. This could be setting a temperature on the thermostat, changing lights, executing scenes, all in a sequence, and this is all triggered by voice. So Siri Shortcut, you create whatever shortcut name that you want, and then you can trigger it just by saying, hey, what's her name? I'm on my way home, and that perhaps sends a text message to a loved one or a family member or your partner. Maybe it grabs it orders your coffee automatically that you want from Starbucks on your way home, sets the temperature on your thermostat, and maybe starts some music playing and a few other things. This is completely customizable. It's going to be available in the apps and then in a special kind of Siri Suggestions editor app as well. So app developers will have to take advantage of this and put these suggestions, kind of expose different little quick things that you can do in their apps. Apple Watch, just a brief mention in terms of that they're enhancing the Siri Apple Watch face. This is going to include shortcuts that will simply show up when, again, Siri thinks that you may need them, based on time, location, your scheduling, and just what it knows about you. Again, Siri Shortcuts available across multiple apps, not just HomeKit. So again, you can do a whole bunch of things. I think this is going to be really interesting and more flexible than Google's and Amazon's implementation because you're at their mercy of what you can do right now in certain categories. Apple relies on the developers to make it happen in terms of the integration, but the sky's the limit. There's how many millions, hundreds of thousands, zillions of apps out there. So this could be really, 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 really helpful. tvOS, not much of a mention on HomeKit or anything related to the smart home, except the fact that they're going to add the ability for remote systems from Control4, Crestron, and Savant, probably eventually others as well. These are systems that have touch screens and touch panels and so forth, that you'll be able to use those control panels to control your Apple TV. On the Mac, one of the big things people have been saying since the Home app came out, is it going to hit the Mac itself so you will be able to control your various smart home devices right from your Mac? Yes, boom, it is coming to the Mac in macOS Mojave, and I think at least they're bringing it to the Mac. The Home app itself still needs some work. We all know that. But at the end of the day, it'll come to the Mac. This is part of their larger process. Apparently, they revealed a multi-year process that they're going to be helping developers to move, if they would like to, move their iOS apps actually to the Mac. So they've brought over a couple of apps, Stocks and the Home app, the News, and one additional app to the Mac with macOS Mojave, which will, again, be out in beta. Okay, so over the weekend, I polled the Smart Home Life fans on Twitter and Facebook. What did they want to see in terms of HomeKit and the smart home from today's announcements? And so let's go to that. James Moore said, handoff from CarPlay listening to HomePod and Apple TV. So that would be nice to get out of your car. The same thing that was playing in your car would automatically transfer. Did we get that? That would be a no. Christian Raditz, include AirPlay 2 speakers and scenes and events. Well, maybe that might come out with Siri Shortcuts. Don't know. They didn't really talk about it. So at this point, I'm going to have to say no, but maybe we'll get it this fall. Let's see, Nest integration. Well, maybe. I'm going to kind of leave that one there. We might get it through Siri Shortcuts. That was another guy, Joe on Twitter. Ryan, I hope I'm just going to say Ryan, AirPlay 2 support for Airport Express. Probably not. Apple has gotten out of the Wi-Fi base station business. On Facebook, Jeff Cotter said, new scenes or rules based on temperature and humidity. I really would. I'm totally with you there. So I don't have to use a third-party app. Better Siri integration, better Siri. Kind of got a little bit of that. I'm just going to leave this as a little bit kind of in the middle of the road. We'll just say Alexandre. Workflows. Yes, basically we got that through Shortcuts. So thanks for chiming in on that stuff. And let's move on. The other thing we didn't get that a lot of people predicted was no HomePod Mini. In fact, they didn't really mention HomePod much at all. My prediction would be we get a HomePod Mini this fall. HomePod sales have been lackluster. It's just too expensive. I know it's a premium device. Apple wants everyone to buy it. People are just not going to spend that kind of money on a regular basis. I think it needs to be $100 or less to compete with everything else. Apple traditionally doesn't try to compete with everyone else. They want to do something that's better, more unique, and fits into the Apple world of the way that they think. If you're looking for HomeKit products, I've recently updated, kind of redesigned in some ways, my HomeKit product guide. It's illustrated, it's categorized, it's really up to date with practically every product that's out there. I added a section for AirPlay 2 speakers and whole house audio because there are a number of devices now that are going to be set to receive AirPlay 2. This is the brand new technology that was announced this time last year that we just got in iOS 11.4. Lets you do multi-room audio, lets you do multiple streams, having one song or one playlist playing on a set of speakers over here, another playing on these over here, or the same thing happening across the entire home. That can be any AirPlay 2 speaker or an Apple TV or a HomePod. So pretty flexible now. It took them a long time to actually roll this out. This was suggested by one of our Facebook fans, Nathan Cunningham, because I didn't initially think about this, but this is really excellent. Of course, we know that there's this divide between what's compatible with HomeKit and what's not, specifically things like Nest and Ring and Harmony from Logitech and so forth. These Siri Shortcuts could open up compatibility to non-HomeKit devices through their apps, which, it's not a perfect world, but it's still going to execute a function that you want. Of course, this is up to the individual app developers and platforms to add these shortcuts. They have to kind of expose these individual little pieces to be enabled. I really wanted Apple to give us more, but it does seem that they're working on under the hood improvements across all the different operating systems instead of just coming out with feature after feature after feature just to have announcements. So that means most likely, I would say, we probably will get a HomePod Mini in the fall. I would hope, anyways. There's hope versus predictions, and the fact that next year we'll see more improvements in terms of the HomeKit actual spec needs to support things like reporting energy use. There's devices that actually measure your energy use when you plug things into them. That's not reported. You can't see the information about that. And there's other things, certain lighting controllers that do. Like the LifeXZ, it does all kinds of effects. You can't trigger that from HomeKit. It's kind of an advanced thing that usually Apple has to work with the actual manufacturer on. Maybe they'll make that easier so you can do that, more of those effects and kind of fun things for lighting and other devices that support advanced functionality. You can do that right through Apple's Home app. My last prediction would be saying, in terms of Siri being able to take care of things for you and being proactive, it's more than just, okay, we detected that, at this time of the day or in this kind of part of your routine, we think that you're going to need this, so we'll pop up a notification and then you can tap on it, or through, that could be a Siri shortcut, or that when you run a Siri shortcut, we're going to run this sequence of events that include smart home actions, among other things. But really, eventually it needs to get to, it's going to take care of things for you automatically. And based on what you do, it could actually create those things for you, in terms of, we need to get to where we don't have to spend so much time scheduling and creating automations and so forth. Siri could actually start to learn to do this. Now, Siri will have to get more intelligent. Apple's taking a very long process to do this versus something like Google and Amazon. The only company who's really doing proactive automation is Vivint with their Sky system that will actually learn from your usage and behavior with your smart home devices, and then start suggesting things, and then based on your you're basically allowing it to run those things for you, it will eventually just take care of those things for you completely automatically in the background and just say, hey, I took care of this, you're good to go. That is that. If you like this kind of content and you want to see Smart Home Life continue to grow and prosper and put out more stuff, head over to patreon.com/smarthomelife. I would love to have you as one of our wonderful supporters who directly supports the show. Also, again, if you're interested in all the latest HomeKit products, all the most current, the stuff that's just been released recently, check out the illustrated HomeKit product guide at smarthomelife.com/HomeKit guide. Otherwise, I'm Joe DeGanzik for Smarter Home Life, and I'll see you next time.